This Salty's bit is about the adventure I had in the first car that I ever drove. And that car was a 1977. I believe it was a 1977. Could have been a 75. Anyway, it was a 70s version Chevrolet Chevette. I used to tell people, yeah, I got a vet. A Chevette. Anyway, and kind of coincidentally, it has, I don't know, set a chain of events in motion where pretty much 90% of every vehicle I've ever owned has been red. But I'll go into that later. One adventure I had in my Chevette. One night, my friend and I were just driving around. I mean, it was right after I learned how to drive, and I probably wasn't really even supposed to have the car. I think my mom was out of town, and she says, you know, don't drive anywhere that you don't have to. Yeah, that that went over well. Anyway, no, she was home. She was home. I remember that. But that was a different story. Anyway, this one particular night, my friend and I were just driving around aimlessly, and we went over to this place. It's an old naval air base, and those of you who grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas know what I'm talking about. A place called Cabinus Field. And it was just kind of bizarre and I don't know, surreal. You know, you could just drive through the gates. It was just public property, and we would practice driving because he was still learning to drive, and we were pretty much driving circles. Gas was, I think, 75 cents a gallon. So in the Chevette, you could put $3 worth of gas in that thing and drive for a week. So we were just driving around aimlessly, burning gas, and you could drive into the old hangars, which was kind of weird, you know, driving inside of something. So we're on our little joyride, and I remember hitting a bump, like a speed bump, and hearing metal clanging. And so I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. So I stopped the car, turned it off, and so we didn't have flashlights or anything, so we parked over by a street light and popped the hood, looked in there, everything looked all right. And so I was feeling around, make sure everything, you know, belt was still tight and stuff, and the belt was loose. I was like, oh man, this ain't good. Well, what happened was the pulley, the main pulley on the engine had one bolt, and the head of the bolt had sheared off. So I was like, oh crap. Well, but the car still ran. I mean, it was just, it wasn't running the cam or anything. It was just the fan belt. So I can't remember what I did. I think I was able to call my friend. Yeah, I think we found a payphone, called my friend. He was older than me, and and he's like, well, you're gonna have to find somebody to tow you home, because you know, I probably couldn't make it home without boiling over the radiator. So I remember driving around. When we were driving around, there was a guy that had a tow truck. So my friend drove us over to this guy's house and asked him, hey, you know, how much do you charge to tow this car, and I think I was like maybe 20 or 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes from home. And the guys, you know, like, this was, again, back in the late 80s, early 80s. And he's like, I don't know, 40 bucks. And I was like, I don't have 40 bucks, but all right. So he tows us home, and I was hoping to borrow the money from my friend. And he said, well, you know, I got 20 bucks on me. You're going to have to come up with the other 20 bucks. I was like, oh, man. So I didn't have $20. So he said, well, you're going to have to ask your mom for the money. I'm like, oh, man. I didn't want to do that. So I think my mom was already going to bed. It was like 9 o'clock at night. So knock on my mom's bedroom door. Mom, can I borrow some money to pay for a tow truck? The car broke down. She wasn't happy, but she gave me the 20 bucks, and we paid the tow truck driver. And so we put the car in the front. Here's a picture of it, and that, I think that picture is where the car sat, where the tow truck driver dropped it off. Exactly where it sat. And it wasn't like a week later that I was able to figure out how to fix it. And mind you, I was just a kid. I didn't know how to fix anything, but you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. And between myself and my buddy who was with me, he was a gearhead. His dad was a mechanic, so he learned a lot of stuff from his dad. And then in turn, he taught me a lot of mechanics. And so I was able to fix the sheared bolt. Luckily for me, what happened was the bolt had backed out, and with the engine turning, that's why the bolt sheared off. So it was really loose. I drilled into the bolt and got an easy out, and I just basically was able to just by hand spin the remnants of the old bolt out, and was able to put a new bolt back into it. But yeah, that was my adventure with the first car I ever drove. The first adventure, not the only adventure, but the first adventure I had. So that's today's Salty's Bit. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.